everybody, how's it going? I'm back in the video, and today I'm going to be talking about 5 teams that I personally think that could be dominating the NBA in the future. Now, before I get in this video, let me describe some of the baselines I'll be going off of for this video. They can't currently be one of the best teams in the league, they can't currently be a super team, and they also cannot currently be like a beast team. Like, they have to be good for the future. So this is going to be teams that, okay, they can be decent right now, but like, they're not legit finals contenders. Like, you can't be a finals contender right now and then me say you're going to be dominant in the future. You know what I'm trying to say? I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. I'm probably doing a terrible job of explaining it, but y'all know what I mean. Y'all feel me. Y'all are picking up what I'm putting down. So basically, I'm be going into 5 teams that I think have a very bright future ahead of them and who could potentially dominate the NBA if they are managed correctly and do develop correctly as well. And now some honorable mentions before I do get in the video for the actual team. Some honorable mentions were the Chicago Bulls, the Phoenix Suns, and the Sacramento Kings. Now, these 3 teams did make it. Well, the Phoenix Suns and Chicago, just because of how terrible they currently are, I have very little faith that their front office is going to actually able to make them good again. And then Sacramento's, because I'm not sure if I fully trust in the development of the young talent that they do have. But yeah, I have 5 teams on the list I will be going off of in no particular order, and then we'll be getting to this video very shortly. So if you do like the video, plan to like button and subscribe button, it would mean the absolute world to me. And without further ado, and without running on too much, just get right into this video. Alright, the first team on this list, and probably the most obvious team on this list, is going to be the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, the Pelicans, I mean, the reason they're on this list is because of one reason: their potential big 3 has extraordinarily a huge high ceiling, and obviously that big 3 consists of Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and Zion Williamson. Now, this big 3 could be extremely hard to stop if they do develop together and get good chemistry together as the years go by. As I mean, Lonzo Ball and Zion have already showed tons of potential, and potentially like being one of the best point guard big man, like athletic big man duos. Like, the pick and roll game could be absolutely filthy, and I just think it's going to be an extremely interesting future to watch as they do develop together. As I mean, they're already doing half-court lobs to each other, like on some video game stuff. And I mean, Lonzo and Zion's chemistry has already shown to be extremely valuable. And with Lonzo also just being a true point guard, which is very hard to find in the NBA, someone that is a pass-first guy, but can also shoot the 3 pretty good, but is also a very good defender, and can just pretty much do anything you need your point guard to do, is extremely hard to find. And Lonzo Ball is a very young player who has an extremely bright future and could even be a potential all-star if he keeps developing the way he did this season. And then obviously Brandon Ingram, a all-star, probably one of the most underrated all-stars in the league this year, is becoming one of the best scorers in the entire NBA. As just last year, he averaged 24.5 points per game, which was the 14th most in the NBA. So he has shown huge strides in becoming a beast of a scorer and potentially one of the best finisher / all-around scorers in the NBA, which would be extremely valuable to this big 3. And then Zion Williamson, I think we all know who he is. Superstar potential, freak athlete on some like Space Jam type stuff. He is ridiculously talented, athletically gifted. He's extremely good at finishing around the rim. He has MVP-like potential, and let's be honest, he is a jump shot away from being probably the next LeBron James. So I think this big 3 has tons of potential, and we could definitely see that them dominating the NBA going into the future. And the second reason I have the Pelicans is because they have a high ceiling with tons of improvement. Now, even some teams on this list do not have an extremely high ceiling, but they have an extremely high floor, which means that they're going to start off very good, but they don't have much ways to improve. But the amount this team has to improve, like Josh Hart's going to be one of the best 6 men in the league if he stays. I doubt they're going to be able to keep him, but still. But they have Jackson Hayes as a rookie who has tons of potential as well. He's extremely athletic, and once he develops, gets a little more discipline, he's going to be a beast. They have other young guys on the roster as well, and Lonzo, Zion, Ingram, their chemistry is going to develop. So they just have tons of potential all throughout this entire roster. And I think New Orleans could definitely dominate the NBA going into the future. But now for the second team on this video is going to be the Dallas Mavericks. Now, the Dallas Mavericks, I think, although their roster isn't the deepest and isn't just like filled with young talent like some of these teams, Dallas has 2 extremely young superstars on their hands, and they could most definitely, if they just fill out the roster with great role players like they have, I mean, there's a very high chance that this team will end up being in at least 1 or 2 NBA finals together. As I mean, Luka Doncic Doncic. Let's be honest, Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis both are already one of the best players in their respective positions, and they're extremely, extremely young. There's almost no doubt in my mind that this team will make an NBA Finals. I think it's no matter what, you can't say Luka Doncic is definitely going to win an MVP one day, maybe multiple MVPs, barring any season-ending injuries or anything like that. But I think Luka has a high potential, MVP potential, maybe one of the best players in the league, if not the best players in the league in the future. And I mean, also, when you go look at Kristaps Porzingis, the dude's an absolute beast. He's a great two-way player. He's one of the best rim protectors in the NBA. But not only can he nicely send your shot to Africa on the defensive end, he can also shoot your eye out from the three-point line at all while being 7'3". So now you have one of the best shooting guards / point guards in the league with Luka, who's just shown really no weaknesses in his game except shooting free throws. And then Kristaps Porzingis, who is just going to completely lock down the paint and also going to be their second option on the scoring end and is going to be almost unguardable. So like, this team, I don't see any way they're not going to dominate the future unless for some reason Luka and Kristaps have a falling out and they have to like break up the roster. But if they stick together, I think there's no way that this duo does not win the NBA Finals. I mean, they're both, 21 and 24, nowhere near their prime, and are already dominating the league in their positions. No telling how good this team could potentially be once they develop and hit their primes. And now for the number 3 team on this list, we have the Denver Nuggets. Now the Nuggets are on this list because of their extremely, extremely high ceiling. I mean, they have some players on this roster that I'll be getting into that their ceiling is just so high, it is absolutely ridiculous. As I mean, at the point guard position, they have Jamal Murray, who, I mean, he has potential to be a top 2, top 5 point guard once he hits his prime. I mean, his potential is crazy. I mean, he's definitely a 25 point per game scorer type guy going into the future. And I mean, he can also, although he's not a great defense, but he can get better defensively, which would improve his game drastically and would definitely help his ranking as one of the better point guards in the entire league. And I could definitely see him going into the future, developing into one of the best point guards, as the dude is only 23 years old, and I think he's averaging, 21 points per game right now. So the dude's going to be an absolute beast scoring-wise once he develops his game even more, and he's going to be a great, great point guard going into the future. And his ceiling is just extremely high in my opinion as well. And then with Gary Harris at the shooting guard position, Gary Harris, although has shown tons and tons of potential when he was young, averaging I think at 1.19 points per game on extreme efficiency, but his defense wasn't there. Well, now he kind of completely flipped that, as his defense is one of the best shooting guard defensive players in the entire NBA, but his offense has been struggling a lot, only averaging I think around 9 points per game. But with how great of a defender he is, if he's able to even get 12, 13 points per game, he's going to be more than worth that starting spot and will be one of the best role players in the NBA for sure. And then I think one of the most underrated, if not the most underrated player in the NBA, Nikola Jokic. This dude is debatably the best center in the entire NBA, probably, not even probably, the best passing big man in the league, and no one really gives him his credit. Yes, he will make an all-star team, but the dude is unbelievably good and gets almost no recognition despite being as great as he is. And that kind of piggybacks into my next one, is that they are an extremely underrated team, which could also be a huge benefit for a team, because if a team isn't taking you as serious because you're underrated, well then boom, you have high potential of upsetting that team. As I mean, they also have players like Bol, who's extremely has extremely high ceiling. They drafted with the second round. He was projected to go in the lottery before he got injured. And now what do you have? Now you have a potential beast on your hands in the future once he develops. And then also Michael Porter Jr. has also shown tons of flashes of high potential and how good he could potentially be. So I mean, there is just no telling how high this Nuggets ceiling is, because MPG and Bol could both be all-star level players, or they could just be decent role players, and Jamal Murray could be the best point guard in the league one day, or he could just remain as being an above average point guard. And no telling if Gary Harris is going to improve as well. This Nuggets team is going to be one of the harder ones to predict how good, because we don't really know how they're going to develop, but it's going to be very interesting to see how they do end up developing. And now with the fourth team on this list, we have the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, the reason they're on here is because, I mean, the amount of young, high-quality talent on this roster is absolutely ridiculous. Like, it is like a daycare in there. Like, someone just robbed an orphanage and made them into an NBA team. That's how young this team is. Like, it blows your mind once you actually look into the roster. And not only do they have young talent, they're extremely high quality players that could all develop into starting level players. So, I mean, in the starting five, every single one of them are under the age of 27, and then 4 of them are under the age of 26 years old. So, I mean, that is great. And then 2 of them on there are budding superstars in the making. Ja Morant, probably going to be the rookie of the year this year. Jaren Jackson Jr., a very underrated young guy who I think definitely has all-star potential in his blood. And so Ja and JJJ could have potential to be very, very good. And the other 3 are great role players in their own right, with Dillon Brooks, Kyle Anderson, and Jonas Valanciunas. Now, Jonas Valanciunas is that type of dude that's like, you know he's in the NBA, and like, but is he really good enough to be a starting level center on a championship team? And I think for sure he is. He's that center that's going to average you a double-double, be an extremely good role player, get in your face, like be a very strong player to like really enforce the paint, which every team needs. Kyle Anderson's a solid scorer, solid all-around player, and Dillon Brooks is another solid two-way player, can score very efficiently, and is having a very good season with this Memphis Grizzlies team. And then even on their bench, the young talent just keeps on coming, as they have great players off their bench like Tyus Jones, DeAnthony Melton, Josh Jackson, Brandon Clark, Justice Winslow, and Grayson Allen. Now, 2 of the main ones, obviously Brandon Clark and Justice Winslow. Now, Justice Winslow is probably going to be the starting small forward once he gets healthy, but he's an extremely good young piece, and he's going to be very valuable for this team. Brandon Clark is a rookie with probably one of the best rookies in the NBA right now. He won the Summer League MVP. He has tons of potential, and he's been extremely good off the bench, and I would not be surprised at all if one day we see him potentially starting and moving Jaren Jackson Jr. down to the center spot, and then moving Jonas Valanciunas onto the bench. And then Grayson Allen, I mean, he was a projected lottery pick to all this stuff in college, went down. He's showing some potential. Josh Jackson's doing what Josh Jackson does and being extremely good in the second half of the season. And I mean, that's pretty much what he's done every season, so hopefully he can make a click in the first half of the season, but he's showing even potential. DeAnthony Melton, he's a solid young guy. Tyus Jones, another solid young point guard off the bench. So with how young this team is, it's going to be almost impossible to keep all of this young talent, but if they can even just keep half of the very good players on this roster that are young, they have an extremely high ceiling and could definitely be competing for championships once their chemistry develops and once the players even develop into better players. And now the Miami Heat, one of my favorite teams on the list, is just going to be like their star potential across the roster. Now, a lot of these teams on this list, they have young, good players, but do they have star potential? Miami's entire team just screams superstar. I mean, Bam Adebayo, he's a second-year All-Star already. He's probably going to be a third, even second-team All-NBA player, and I mean, he has potential to be an extremely good player, and I think for sure he's going to be a beast going in the future and one of the best centers in the entire NBA. And then you have Duncan, who is just already one of the best shooters in the entire NBA. I mean, at one point when Klay Thompson and Curry retire, he could definitely take the spot at being the best shooter in the NBA. The dude's absolutely knocked down. He has ice in his veins, and I think he has that type of potential to be one of the best role player shooting guys in the entire NBA. And then Kendrick Nunn, by far one of the most underrated rookies in the league. He took the league by storm in the Summer League, but he's also playing extremely good in the regular season. He's been their starting point guard pretty much the entire year, and he's been one of the better starting point guards in the league. And I'm pretty sure he's an undrafted rookie, and he's been an absolute star for them, and he's definitely has all-star potential as well. And then another guy I love on this team, Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero, he literally just screams superstar potential. He is clutch. He has a swagger about him that not many players have. He has great confidence. He can shoot the ball. He has great game. I just love this player, and I think he could definitely be an all-star as well. And I think this Miami Heat team definitely has tons of stars in the making on its roster. But unfortunately, guys, that's gonna be for this video. So comment below, do you agree with me? Do you think that these teams could dominate the NBA? Which teams do you think I missed? Should have I switched any of these? On your thoughts in the comment section below. If you do like the video, point, hit the like button and subscribe button, like I said earlier, even the world to me. Hope you have a blessed day. Can I have a blessed day? So you need to have a blessed day. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Boo. Blah, blah, blah.